Hey, I'm Jim Rawlison from Vonnegut Hardware, and this is Voices of Indy.
And welcome to Season 3 of Voices of Indy. I'm your host, Josh Gillespie. As you heard at the top of the show, our guest tonight is Jim Rawlison of Vonnegut Hardware. Jim, thank you for being on the show this week.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are absolutely welcome. I'm a fan of you guys. I started following you earlier this year on Instagram. That's where I first heard about you. And it was before your September single came out. But I had listened, so I immediately went to Spotify, checked your guys' 2 singles out, and I loved it. And I wish there was more.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we get into what Vonnegut Hardware is, and what you guys have been doing, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of like the beginnings of the band.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in bands dating back to the 90s, so I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I did a lot of punk rock, metal, indie rock type bands. I was in a band called Jim Fix back in Bloomington way back in the day. I was in a band in Indy for a long time called Maravich, and then I've been in a bunch of others on and off throughout the years. But Vonnegut Hardware started roughly 2020 is kind of when it started really getting moving.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm an indie guy. Punk rock, indie rock, that's always been kind of my jam.
Yeah.
Usually louder stuff. This is kind of a departure maybe from most of what I've done.
Oh, really? Yeah, because, I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to Brandon, who's one of the co-owners of the Engine Room here, and as he was hearing you play, he's like, it kind of gives me like, I forget the other band now, but it was like REM mixed with a band that is not REM, but I mean, it was just like that kind of vibe. It was definitely an alternative band.
Well, and the performance for this was acoustic.
Yes.
And if you come to a Vonnegut Hardware show, it's not going
to be acoustic.
That's a special treat, we'll say. So we're usually a lot louder than that. But it is a lot toned down from some stuff I've done in the past. And that was intentional. I had built this back catalog of songs that I'd written for, over a decade of that were like, well, this isn't quite a Maravich song, and this isn't quite a this song, and that.
Yeah.
And I've always been enamored with Teenage Fan Club and Guided by Voices, and I loved Husker Du, but I also love Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I
love Sugar.
So that pop angle, was always kind of something that appealed to me that I haven't quite gone after, and that was, I think, where originally I was taking this, and it's grown into a full band now, and that's been exciting to see. But yeah, so that's
I can hear those influences, especially the Bob Mould influences.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not as heavy-handed as as some people might. I don't even think anyone thinks that, but it might not be heavy-handed. But I mean, I could hear it when you mentioned Husker Du and you mentioned Sugar. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so if you listen to my other band, Maravich, that would be the Husker Du to the Vonnegut Hardware's Sugar, I would say, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe a little more mature, a little toned down.
Yeah.
A little more dialed in.
No, I love it. I love it. And I love the name of the band. Where did you guys come up with that?
Yeah, I've had that in my back pocket for a while. So I'm a big literary fan too, and I obviously everybody reads Vonnegut in high school, especially people in Indiana. But I've always been a very Indiana guy, and like my stuff has always been kind of centered around a certain aesthetic, and so that I thought of that a long time ago, and I was like, that'd be a really cool name for a band. And I kind of looked around assuming someone would have it, and I have never seen anyone have it. It lends itself towards merch.
No, it totally does.
I want to do like rulers and belt buckles and stuff. But yeah, it's both a nod to Indiana history and one of my favorite authors, and just kind of sets the tone of the aesthetic for the band, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could totally take the VH from Van Halen. They're not using it now. We did do a little logo thing, which I probably put way too much thought into. But if you check out any of our stuff, it's got our little VH logo on it. It's kind of similar to the Van Halen thing. But no, it's but seriously, guys, check out their stuff on Spotify. You came out with the single in September. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the first single we did was Apocalypse Blues, we did a whole session down at Postal. So I should say the other guys in the band, Jeff Dawes, Paul Moore, and Justin Avery. I always think of him still as Justin Daggers. We've been friends, all of us, since getting all the way back to like high school.
Yeah.
And they were in other bands. We always kind of talked about playing together, but we never got together. So anyway, those guys, Jeff and Paul and I tried to get together 4 or 5 years ago, like right when they opened Postal. And Jeff and Paul were kind of working on building out Postal. And so we were doing some rehearsals there. So it was good to go back to that room with a full band and do a whole session. So Apocalypse Blues was the first single that came out of that. I feel like it's pretty obvious at this point that, I wrote a lot of these tunes in 2020, or, they started in 2019 and then, formed in 2020. And
it's almost like you saw some things coming down the pipe.
Yeah, just a lot of bad juju was happening at the time.
Yeah,
and so that's what that song's kind of about. Yeah. And it's about, music is a release from, the craziness that's happening in the world. And, I, just really dug the tone of that song. And that was actually the first song. So I came in with 20 or so, songs. That was the first one that we kind of wrote together as a band. And so that was, so it was kind of cool to do the first single.
And the second song that you released was Broad Ripple is Boring.
Yeah.
Which I love the title of that song, even though we are recording in Broad Ripple.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, I feel like I know what the song is about based on the lyrics, but is that kind of in response to the song Broad Ripple is Burning?
Yeah. So that's what I've had some people be like, what the heck, man? It's a tongue-in-cheek nod to
that's kind of
the
what
Margot song.
Yeah.
And there was actually another song, a band that I really loved way back in the day, Chamberlain. They were kind of that first band that went from hardcore into like an indie rock, emo type sound. And
all right, yeah.
They had a song called Magnetic 62nd that was also kind of themed similarly. And that whole song is really about I wanted to write a song for the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Okay,
because it's like this unofficial holiday, and nobody has a song about that. And just how different it is, when you're like 20 or like 22 or whatever, and like that's when you're in the heart of it, and then you get to be like 30 and you're at the bars and you're like, what am I doing here? Like this is not for me. And so that's what that song's about, is just realizing that like this isn't for me anymore, you know, and just it's still cool for kids, go hang out. And so hopefully nobody in Broad Ripple takes offense to it. I love Broad Ripple, but
I don't think
it's 100% a Margot joke. And the other joke was that we recorded at Postal, and so Tyler mixed our record, and Tyler was in Margot. So
that's perfect.
Circle thing,
that brought it all together.
Yep.
But I had I saw that and I was like, I wonder if that's kind of a tongue in cheek thing.
Yeah.
To Margot and the Nuclear So and So's. That's brilliant. So how did Fantasyland? Because that's a track we're gonna hear you play here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Fantasyland.
Yeah. So Fantasyland, it's got a groovy vibe to it a little bit, more than something I've done in the past. And that was another one that we kind of wrote all together. That wasn't in the original pod of the songs that I wrote. It's about that same, it's all kind of thematic along with Apocalypse Blues that we have this image of the way we want the world to be, whether you're on the right or the left or wherever you're coming from. Yeah. And it's just like, things aren't always what you want them to be. And if you can't accept that, then people start to move off and exist in their own realities. And that's not healthy for anybody. And so that's kind of what that song's about. We did a cool, just kind of a B-roll music video thing on YouTube for that. That's out there. And it's all glitchy video at mostly at Indiana Beach, but it's like roller coasters and 80s amusement park theme.
Yeah. We'll be sure to link to that video so that people can check it out if they haven't. No, I could tell. So I was listening to that song today, and I was really wanting to focus in on the lyrics. The lyrics are I mean, as a fellow musician, lyrics are obviously very important to me. Music is the first thing that really grabs me first, and the lyrics will come second. And that comes when I'm writing or anything. It's always the music comes first. But I really pay attention now to the lyrics when I'm listening to a song, like more so than I did when I was like really like. Not, I don't want to say into music, but when it was just like
your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm far more attentive to what's being written and sung, and I could tell that it was like, there wasn't a particular angle you were going.
Yeah.
But it was like everything is just kind of like
it. And I guess to go a little bit deeper into it, there's actually a book called Fantasyland that kind of drove my thinking on it. And it's all about how American history is like built on flim-flam bullshit.
Yeah.
it's which is like we're predisposed to buy into fake gurus and garbage salesmen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what that whole like one of the lyrics is, it's a pyramid scheme and everybody's on top of you.
Yes.
And then at the end it's but never forget that the pyramid's just a tomb. So, there's all this magical thought around pyramids and it's fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, it's just a dead guy's tomb, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the aesthetic of that song.
That is friggin' brilliant. Honestly, I loved it. That was really just kind of sticking out to me, like especially that part. And I was like, I really enjoyed that. That's some really good writing.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So we are going to take a quick break.
Okay,
and we are going to come back after we hear Jim play us. I believe the first song is Fantasyland.
Yeah,
let's hear some Fantasyland. We'll be right back.
To muddle through. It's been a hell of a year, babe. Somehow it's only June. The betting on big games, the praying on Sundays, I'm just hoping for something bigger than me and you. Bad information affecting the nation, and all that you want can't be true. You want it so bad, it's driving you mad. Can't you see what it's doing to me? Need something to get us through. Well, it's a pyramid scheme, babe, and everyone's on top of you. Build the world that you wanted, do what you got to do, but never forget that the pyramid's just a tomb. Bad information affecting the nation, and all that you want can't be true. You want it so bad, it's driving you mad. Can't you see what it's doing to you? I miss those good old-fashioned lies of our youth. There's some magic in knowing that they won't come true. And I wouldn't wish that on you. Those good old-fashioned days of our youth. It's sad when they don't come true.
And welcome back. Jim Rawlison is with us from Vonnegut Hardware. I hope you guys enjoyed that special acoustic version of Fantasyland. It's a fantastic song. I've enjoyed talking about it with you.
Thanks.
Now, you have some stuff coming up, though, don't you?
Yeah, so we actually have, so like I said, we did that full session at Postal. We did 5 songs total. So we had Apocalypse Blues, Brought Up Was Boring is a B-side, and we did Fantasyland release. We still have Heart Attack, and then Patrick Henry are 2 more songs that are coming out. We're going to do the full 5 songs as an EP.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm also already curious about the song Patrick Henry.
yeah. It's a little misleading, but
okay.
That one, the lyrics maybe aren't as meaningful, but it's a really cool tune, and it's more in line. It's definitely one of those ones that I wrote before the band all came together.
Oh, okay.
And so it's more straightforward. Yeah. Guided by voices-y type vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that song that'll probably be the next single. Alex Kirchwell plays piano on it, which is cool. We'd like to work a keyboard player in at some point.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So it's, that's something I always kind of wanted to do. And with other bands that I've been in, I've never been able to do it. And so we were able to do some Moog stuff and some keyboards on the CD, on the record. So you'll hear that when it comes out. It's actually up on our Bandcamp now, but it'll be streaming and everything starting in January. So
awesome. All right. What's your Bandcamp? Plug it.
I don't even know.
Well, you know what? I will find it. It'll be linked.
Hard.
It'll be linked in the description.
There's only one Vonnegut Hardware Bandcamp.
It's true. Yeah, there it is. But I'll be sure to link it in the description to make sure that people can check out the Bandcamp. Purchase it because you want to support local music. I mean, I don't care if you stream their stuff, but let's support our local musicians.
Yeah. And that's so this band is all about, again, we've been playing music for a long time. We've been friends for a long time. It's just kind of stuff that had built up in me. So it's not about going on tour and making money, although I think that's what we want to do. I mean, we're hoping to do a bunch of regional tours this spring. Now that we've got songs under our belt, we've done a bunch of shows. So hopefully we'll have some of that booked this spring and summer. But it's really just let's do something and really try to go after playing shows and going out again. And because I my last band, we were super in on the DIY aesthetic and like not super accessible, but that's what the whole band was about making the music that we wanted to make.
Yeah.
So this band is more accessible and more, I don't know. It's just kind of a complete opposite vibe of what I've done in the past.
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to talk to you about that because since you've been playing in bands for so long, and you've
so long.
So I don't mean to I don't mean to make this sound like I'm completely aging you here, but I think you are in a position that you can talk about what it was like when you first started, like how DIY that was, especially as to now it's
Yeah,
it's really kind of changed on you.
It's a weird world now, and I mean, it's not necessarily. I don't want to be the old guy complaining about the way things are now because it's just different. But yeah, for sure, I came up on this like we might go into a studio, but we'd have a friend record us, and then we'd stamp CDs or do cassettes. And then
cassettes are popular now.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But I don't even know if I have a cassette player anymore. But
yeah, I don't.
But but yeah, so then you do the mailers and you mail it out to people, and we went on tour with MapQuest printed out directions and stuff, and you're booking shows on a landline, and then now we're in this world where with this stuff that's came out, and thankfully Nicosia with Radio Cake has helped us out with distribution and online stuff and digital stuff, which I have no concept of. And so seeing that people in Denmark and Brazil and stuff are listening to our band, and I don't know how real that is, but but like it says, that's what it says. And so just like that whole world, like music's never been more accessible than it is right now. And that's if you just embrace that, it can be really cool.
Yeah. No, there's something awesome about that, but at the same time, as we were kind of discussing off air, it's like, breaking through the noise.
Yeah.
And I'm old too. So it's one of those things where it's like, I know that I'm not going to make money on streaming. That's a given.
Right.
I don't know if I think one of the best things I've seen recently is that Weird Al was doing a thank you video. Because he got 80 million some odd streams, and it's like, well, that's about $12.
Yeah, thanks for the taco. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for the $2 that I probably got this year. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's about finding your group of people.
Right.
There's one of my favorite singer-songwriters. He purposely makes music that will turn people off.
Yeah.
Because he wants to find his tribe.
Yeah.
His group of people that are going to be with him through thick and thin. And it's an interesting marketing plan, but it works for him.
Yeah, and that's that's my last band, Maravich, was a lot like that, where it's just we're just going to do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
And which is not to say that Vonnegut Hardware isn't that, but it's just a toned down version of that. But
like the sugar to the Husker do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think there is value in making art for art's sake, and like there's just difference. The more I've learned, the older you get, the broader your spectrum gets. Ideally, that doesn't always work that way, I guess. But becoming friends with people who play in wedding bands or who play jazz music or who do regular gigs, they play 3 to 5 gigs a night, a week, and playing covers, also known as standards, right? Like, and like then I come from this punk rock world where like that's the worst thing you could do, but it's just a totally you realize, this isn't, why am I so upset about that? And it's all about just changing your perspective and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's something that I had to get over myself. So most of the time I'm playing solo, but I do have a band, and I love playing with them. Now, I don't come from the punk rock ethos. If I had to describe my music, it's like Foo Fighters meets Simon and Garfunkel. It's the energy of the Foo Fighters, but the whimsy, not the whimsy, but like the deep introspective
herbs
lyrics
and spices. In
that
your
too,
song.
yeah. I go for the deep introspective lyrics of kind of the folk music, mixed. But when I'm with the band, they're in a couple of the guys in the band are also in a side band that does covers, and so they'll recommend when we play live that we'd like to have a cover or two, and I'm like, no, play original music, but at the same time it's like, well, I kind of like this cover song, so we make it our own.
Yeah, we have a list of like deep cut covers that we'd like to work in at some point. That's like, The Concept by Teenage Fan Club, like that kind of, like if you play that song, like 80% of the room's not going to know what you're doing, but the 20% who do are going to be like, oh hell yeah,
yeah.
So that we're trying to work on that, but I also will say like this fall we started playing a bunch of shows. We played the Irvington Halloween Festival, and we did Tonic Ball.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of
Congratulations.
funny. It was kind of funny to go from playing to a Melody Inn club room to like 60,000 people at the Irvington Halloween Festival. And but so for that we worked in a Misfits cover, and then for like Tonic we had to learn Police songs, which I'm not even really a Police fan, and so but that's always a good exercise to like stretch yourself. I used to hate it. I used to hate the concept of it. But it's once you do it a couple times, you realize that it stretches you as an artist to just try and learn something, even especially if you don't like it. Like it just the practice of doing that changes the way you play.
Yeah. Well, with the few moments that we have left, tell us, what you have coming up. When does the music drop on streaming services?
So I think we're going to do January 1.
Oh, wow. Okay, starting the year.
Yeah, so we're going to drop the full EP. So check out Patrick Henry and check out the other songs as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you have... Now, you had mentioned that you were like sitting on like 20 some odd songs. Now, those weren't necessarily written with the other guys in the band, but have you guys been working on stuff that you'll be able to follow up this EP with? Yeah,
so we're probably going to go back in the studio this spring, and so we have a pretty good set right now, and then this spring, we'll add to it and try to book a bunch of shows, like I said, regionally, Midwest type, Weekend Warrior type shows. So yeah, look for that. Hopefully come May, we'll try and go back. We'll try and go back probably February, March into Postal or somewhere and track some more songs. And that's another thing I didn't, for artists out there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand this cycle of like, hey, you don't want to be playing like a show in January. Like, if you're only doing 6 or 8 shows a year, you should really write your stuff, like play from March to November, and then spend the time off in between there writing your songs and recording something, so then you have something new every spring to come out with and play towards. And like, I was in my late 30s when I realized that that's the way you should be doing things.
That's, oh gosh. And if only if it were that easy for some people, but I mean that's true. That's kind of how it is.
It's not. You're obviously not going to do it every year, but that's the cycle to shoot for. And if you do that, it's like, oh, well, that actually makes a lot of sense. Then you have something to and then you're also challenging yourself as an artist every time, because it's not you're not just playing the same 6 songs for 5 years or whatever.
And one other thing that I wanted to ask you before we close out the show is recently you played the Circle Center Mall with Musical Family Tree, the thing that they've been doing. Do you play solo gigs often?
Not a ton. So originally the thought was that I would do this and have it sort of like what it sounds like you do, where I would have a band and then I could do solo gigs. And so it's kind of been structured that way thus far. And so I've done it a couple times. But generally we're going to be doing a band thing going forward.
Okay.
So it's not just the Jim Rawlison show. It's Jeff and Paul and Justin. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Jim, thank you for being on the show this week.
Thank you for having me.
Grateful to have you.
Yeah.
Guys, check out Vonnegut Hardware. We're gonna close out the show with a special acoustic performance of Broad Ripple is Boring. Not burning, boring. The B-side to Apocalypse Now?
Apocalypse Blues.
There you go. Apocalypse Now's a movie. Apocalypse Blues. Dang it, I should know that. It's not like I have... Gosh. Terrible host here. But yeah, check out Apocalypse Blues and Broad Ripple is Boring, as well as Fantasyland, the latest single from Vonnegut Hardware. It is streaming everywhere. Check it out first on their Bandcamp site. It'll be linked below. And yeah, let's close out the show.
Thank you. Hope you like it.
I'm sure we will love it. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
All right. We'll be back next week.
Bloomington to Broad Ripple, the kids are coming out in droves, getting messed up, lack of inhibition, Probably should have stayed at home. Getting old. Before Thanksgiving, rookie night is out in force. What's your major malfunction? I didn't know we had that here until next year.